Welcome to the Elevate Podcast, where every leader has a story. We bring you conversations with influential leaders who are shaping our local communities. Hear about their path to leadership and experiences that define them, and how they're driving meaningful impact today. Hey everybody, Jason Alm here with another episode of the Elevate Powered by Braden podcast with this week's guest, Dr. Scott Feller. And Scott, where are you at today? What are you doing?
Well, I'm the 17th president of Wabash College.
17th president of Wabash College. And he told me when you guys got started. It's going to be cool to hear that story, but we know it's a little bit further down your path. So let's go back to the beginning. Where are you from originally?
So I grew up in a small town in Oregon, about 5,000 people, called Silverton, Oregon.
So it sounds beautiful.
It's really beautiful there.
All right. So whereabouts in Oregon is it?
So it's about, it's in the Willamette Valley. So it's about halfway between Portland and Eugene, the two biggest cities. So there's a nearby state park there that has about 10 waterfalls. It is very beautiful, great hiking, and I get back there fairly regularly.
Okay. All right. So that's hometown. What did high school look like for you? What were you doing in those days?
Let's see. It was a small town. My dad was the small town dentist, so we knew everyone from a young age. I was the after hours and weekends dental assistant. Oh, that taught me I didn't want to be a dentist or a doctor.
Oh, I love that. All right. So he's the dentist in the small town, but in a small town, the dentist just like, everybody knows the dentist. Everybody's got to go. You probably only maybe had one in the town, one or two.
Yeah, everybody knows him. My son moved to the same small town when he graduated from Purdue a few years ago. So, yep, people recognize him by his grandfather's name.
No, killer. Yeah, I love that. All right, so you're in high school, going to a small school. As you're thinking about what's going to come next, is it going to be working after high school? Is it going to college? What are you thinking, and where do you go?
So there was one thing I was pretty good at in school. I was always very good at chemistry, and so I had decided that I would go to college, study chemistry. I went to a liberal arts college.
Okay.
Similar to my wife likes to point out that the buildings look just like Wabash.
Oh, kidding. So where was school? Where'd you go?
Willamette University in Salem, Oregon. It's a liberal arts college. Both my parents had attended, a whole bunch of aunts and uncles. Eventually, both my younger brother and sister graduated, so it's kind of a family place to go.
So it's the family school.
It turned out that's not why I went. I think I went despite the fact that it was where my family had gone. But somewhere along that process, I decided, this place really fits. This is where I feel like I belong.
You know, it's interesting because obviously you ended up at Wabash, and I've talked to a number of Wabash folks, and they've all kind of said the same thing. They feel like when they walk on campus, it just felt like it fit for them. And so for you as an 18-year-old, you walk on campus, what was the feel? Just feel like home, or what did it feel like?
I think so. I liked the scale of it. You know, I'd grown up in a small town. It was not a large university.
Okay.
So I think the scale of it felt right. It seemed like a kind of place where you would have access to a great educational experience.
Sure.
But you weren't going to be a small fish in a big pond.
Okay. All right. So you're heading there for school. You like chemistry. Is that what you're going to study?
I studied chemistry and math, and was very focused, I suppose, on chemistry. Though I had a very broad liberal arts education as well. Studied literature and English and history and music and all of those things. Along that path, while I was going to school, we had a visit from a faculty member at the University of California at Davis who talked about their graduate program. And so then that got graduate school on my mind.
Okay. So as you're going through your 4 years there, you're getting a chance to study a lot of different things. As you're looking into the future, what do you think the future is going to hold at that young age? What were you thinking you're going to do?
I'm not sure I was a real big long-term planner. I think I found I liked the study of chemistry, and I thought I'll keep doing it.
Okay.
Probably towards the end of my college career, I did think, well, this college thing, this liberal arts college, it's really nice.
Hmm.
Maybe I'd like to work there.
Oh, really?
And so, as the thought of coming to a liberal arts college as a faculty member did begin to stick with me towards the end of my undergraduate days. And that, I think, kind of contributed to my choice of pursuing a PhD.
Okay, so thinking about that, you finish up your 4 years. After that, you think, okay, maybe my career could be in doing what I'm actually doing now.
Yeah.
You go to California next, is that right?
I go to California next, studied at the University of California, Davis, did my PhD in physical chemistry there. And I think during those years, partly I saw the real difference between a large university and a small liberal arts college. And then I really decided, yeah, I really did want to work at a small liberal arts college.
But you got that experience to go there as a student.
Yes.
So you get that experience. How long are you there?
I was there about 4 years.
Okay.
Finished up my PhD. Then before I started teaching, I took a position at the National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, Maryland.
Okay.
So I moved all the way across the country and worked for the NIH and the Food and Drug Administration for a few years.
So now wait a second. So you're a West Coast kid, Pacific Northwest, right? Head down to California, all the way out to Maryland. How was that changed? Did you like it out there?
So I think Bethesda is right outside of Washington, D.C.
Sure.
I think it is a great place to live for a few years.
Okay.
It is not the place I would have wanted to be for a long time, but there's a lot to see, right? There's a lot of history there.
Sure.
Lots of things to see. Every weekend you can go and learn something. And so by that time I was married, and my wife and I had 2 small kids. And so
Okay.
so the whole bunch of us moved across the country away from all of our family, really. But it was a great few years. I just wouldn't have wanted to make that the long-term home.
So you get married while you're in California? Did you meet your wife out there?
Well, I met my wife, and she's from the same small town in Oregon.
No kidding.
No kidding.
So high school sweethearts.
No, she didn't have anything to do with me when we were in high school. So
Okay. So you knew each other in a small town.
yeah, somehow my charms didn't take hold until later in life.
Well, you had to go get your PhD.
I guess
for us, right? You had to go get studied, get a little bit ready.
Maybe absence makes the heart grow fonder. I'm not sure. That's
Okay. All right. So California to Maryland, a couple of years out there. And then where do you think you're going after that? Are you going to finally get back to school, or?
So, in those few years, I was working mostly as a researcher, kind of adding to my resume, publishing a lot of papers, but still with the idea that I'd like to find a career in a liberal arts college.
Okay.
And so after I'd done that, maybe I was 2.5 years at the NIH, and thought it's time to start teaching. So I took a teaching position back in the Pacific Northwest at Whitman College, in Walla Walla, Washington. That's the town so nice they named it twice. So now it was a visiting faculty position there, kind of during someone was on sabbatical, and they said, "Oh, you can come and teach here for a while." But it wasn't really a tenure track position that you would have kind of long-term stability. So I was looking at that point, probably pretty broadly, looking all around the country, trying to find a small liberal arts college with a strong chemistry department, a place that, had really strong student-faculty relationships, the things I'd experienced in my own college.
So open to go anywhere in the United States at that point, you think?
I think I'm probably was hoping maybe to stay in the Pacific Northwest at the time. But by the time my wife and I had lived around the country, and we'd found that there are lots of things to like about different areas of the country.
Okay, so it could kind of go anywhere. And so you start looking. Where do you end up after you finish in the Pacific Northwest?
So this is pre-World Wide Web. So I'm reading job applications in the chemistry magazine that comes out every week, and I see a job at Wabash College in Crawfordsville, Indiana.
First of all, had you heard of Crawfordsville? Had you heard of Wabash?
I had heard of neither of them.
Okay.
I had never stepped foot in the state of Indiana.
Flown over.
I had flown over,
Sort of. Okay.
but never visited. And so then a couple of random things happened to me. The the faculty member in the office next to mine had grown up in Indiana.
Okay.
So I went and asked him, tell me about this Wabash College in Crawfordsville, Indiana. And he very quickly said, oh, this is a very strong science department, really good college. You ought to look at that.
Okay.
And then I made a call to my Ph.D. advisor in California, who it turned out had started his career at IU Bloomington. He'd been a faculty member in Bloomington. So I called him and said, what do you know about Wabash College in Crawfordsville, Indiana? So great school. A lot of our best graduate students at Bloomington who are graduates of Wabash College. You should definitely apply.
Okay.
So based on those two things, I sent an application in.
All right. So you send the application in. What's the process look like? Do you have to come in for an interview?
Yeah, they invited me out to interview. That was the first time I'd ever stepped foot in Indiana. And, it's a little bit like our students reported to you. I walked on campus and it just felt right.
Yeah.
The scale felt right. The people were friendly. Everybody looks you in the eye.
Yeah.
And you say, yeah, okay, this is a long ways to move my family. This is a little ways, maybe further than I imagined, but this place just felt right. It just felt right.
Yeah. The campus felt right. Size feels good.
Yeah.
Okay. So you come in, and when is that?
So that would have been in 1998. I started at Wabash on July 1st of 1998.
28 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But you come in and you're just teaching. What's the role?
Yeah, so I came in as a chemistry professor, assistant professor of chemistry, and I kind of moved up through the ranks, the kind of academic pathway. So I was tenured and made an associate professor. At some point, I was promoted to full professor. Did a couple of jobs that most faculty would do. I was the chair of the chemistry department.
Okay.
Was the chair of the sciences and mathematics.
Okay.
So, but I was primarily doing teaching and research. I was publishing a lot with students at Wabash.
And enjoying it.
Enjoying it a lot. I had the best job in higher education.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So when do you decide you're going to go down this path, maybe to get into leadership?
Yeah. So, I'm going to hesitate to use the word decision. That makes it sound a little more planned. We had a new president at Wabash College. Greg Hess had come in, and he needed a new chief academic officer. It's the position that would be called provost at many places. At Wabash, we call that the dean of the college.
Okay.
And he announced that we're going to have a search, and that his first preference would be for someone internal to take the role. He had come from outside, and he said, if we don't find anyone, then we'll mount a nationwide search. Okay. And so I threw my hat in the ring, and mistakes were made, and I got the job. And I had agreed, that was going to be 5 years. This was not meant to be a change in career. It was 5 years of service that I intended to do in college. And then I was going to go back to my teaching and research. That was my plan.
Because you've got the best job. You love this.
I love it. The class, the students are great at Wabash. I got to teach the classes that I love to teach. I had great success as a researcher. My students and I were publishing papers and earning competitive grants. Wow. So I thought I would do this for 5 years and then return to the classroom.
So get some experience, give it a try. Like you said, provide some service, pitch in, do those things. Those 5 years, clearly you must have liked those 5 years.
So I think I did like it more than I thought. I went into it, partly because I think the college had treated my family and I well, and I wanted to pay it back. I did that for 5 years. I did find I found it more intellectually stimulating than I thought it would. There's a new problem every day.
Yep.
It has things that are very different from teaching. So it's not that I would say I liked one more than the other. They're just two very different ways to
Yeah.
try to use your skills to make something better. And
Gotcha.
so I did that for 5 years, and then I agreed to do it a couple more years.
Okay.
And I think uh, I had only started my second part of my term for maybe a month. And then our president Hess uh, called me down to the office one Saturday, I remember, and told me that he was seriously considering another opportunity.
Oh, no.
Okay, so he left Wabash. We were on a really good roll at Wabash, but he left to become the CEO of what's called a IES Study Abroad. So he's study abroad provider in the country. So he decided to take his career a different way.
Yep.
And during that conversation, he reminded me that this seemed like what we used to refer to as the hit by a bus moment, that we always had an unwritten agreement that if he was hit by a bus, I would serve as the interim president. Okay. And that was a kind of an unwritten agreement between the board and President Hess and myself. And I said, yeah, it does kind of feel like that.
Well, the good news is, right, you guys had some protocol in place that if he got hit by a bus, you'd know what to do.
Yes.
The good news is he didn't actually get hit by a
He
bus.
did get hit.
He just got a chance to go do something different. So now, how much time before you step into the role as interim?
So I think I got a call the next day from the board chair.
No
and,
kidding?
and just to confirm that I would be willing to do that. And I said, I'll do whatever Wabash needs. Okay, I'm glad to serve as the interim president. So this is about February of 2020, and I was going to become the interim president on July 1st.
Okay, now wait a second here. You just said it some days and some years. All right, so this happens February 2020. He steps away. You now step in as interim. And of course, we know what happens in about 30 days. So how was that experience?
Yeah, so I would say by the time the contracts were written, the press releases were out, it was early March of 2020, and the world was shutting down.
Oh my gosh.
So that was the world I was going to come into. It turned out I never served as the interim president because between March and July, the board of trustees kind of talked among themselves and tried to determine what they thought was best for Wabash.
Sure.
So they came back to me and said, they proposed that maybe we just not put the interim tag on there, and asked if I would be willing to be the president of Wabash College.
Forego a search and say, okay, let's just go ahead and name you. All right. So I guess so. Like one of the things I haven't talked to many people about during that time, March of 2020, COVID, all those things. I've talked to all kinds of businesses. I don't think I've talked to anybody who was leading a university at that time or a college at that time. What was it like doing all this stuff? What were you guys doing? How did it affect you guys?
So it was crazy, and literally every day was a new challenge. So, in March, things are moving pretty quickly. Students went home for spring break and didn't return. So we pivoted all of our classes to Zoom that week.
No kidding.
And
So just from in person, right? Because that was 100% in person, I'm imagining from beginning.
yeah, if you could say 110%, that'd be more accurate. Yes.
You're in the classroom, you're learning here, you're on campus. To now you're at home, and we're going to do things online, and you pivoted that quickly.
This is a place that's built on small classes, relationships, and all the students living on campus.
Yeah.
I told people I think we were probably the least prepared campus in America to go virtual.
Yeah.
But that's what we did, and that's how we got through from, whatever that was, the middle to end of March until May. We kind of limped along with virtual classes.
No kidding. Oh my gosh. So, wow. So you take the role, you're interim on paper for a few minutes.
Yeah.
You navigate one of the toughest things anybody remembers in the last, let's say 30, 40, 50 years, something like that, right? And then, but you got the nod. They said, hey, this guy looks like he's going to be the right person. And clearly you're here today in 2026. So that's great, right?
It's great. It was a very interesting first year. I think by April, we knew we couldn't do virtual learning. going forward. That we had to have all the students
Get them
back in, and we had to do in-person classes. So we began in-person classes in early August of 2020.
Really?
Essentially, no colleges and universities were doing that.
So you were thoughtful the protocols, and you were following those things, but get them back in school, right? Wow, that's amazing, by the way. But your whole model's built that way. Your model's built small classes, like you said, in-person learning. So it wasn't going to work doing it from home.
It wasn't. And, a key component of our learning at the college is also what I call a culture of personal responsibility. Well, we're this interesting college that doesn't have a rule book. We have a rule. That rule is the gentleman's rule. And it says that the Wabash man will conduct himself as a gentleman and responsible citizen, both on and off campus.
So abide by that rule and everything else should go okay.
Exactly. And then that's how we run the college.
One of the things you had said before we got started was you guys were coming up in 2032 on an anniversary.
Yeah, we're looking at our bicentennial in 2032.
That's unbelievable. And so was that one of the founding principles? How did the school get started?
So the school was founded by a group of Presbyterian ministers. They had been educated at Dartmouth, but they wanted to start a college on what was the frontier of the United States at that time. And so the college has never had a religious affiliation. I think it just so happened that pastors were about the only people who knew how to read in West Central Indiana in the 1830s. And so they wanted to start this college, and they did. And, like any small college on the edge of the frontier, rough first years, and things went up and things went down, but the college persevered. And now we're looking at our third century.
That's unbelievable. And you're the 17th president, is that right?
17th president in 196 years. So we've benefited from incredible stability.
Sure.
Wabash College.
Of course, yeah. Okay, so this is a good opportunity, though. So Crawfordsville, Indiana, right, is where Wabash is. And for a lot of folks, they may not know a lot about Wabash, but miss a good opportunity to learn more about them. So tell us more about Wabash.
So Wabash is 900 students with a liberal arts tradition. But our most distinctive element is we have an all-male student body. Okay. So there are only really two all-male liberal arts colleges in the United States: Hampton-Sydney in Virginia and Wabash College.
I didn't know that. I didn't realize it was so rare, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was very common up through the 1950s.
Sure.
To have single-sex institutions. Most of the male colleges began to go co-ed in the 1950s, and by the 1970s, almost all had converted. A much higher number of women's colleges retained their single-sex nature. So we have only a couple of all-male colleges, but we have dozens and dozens of women's colleges. So it's, I think those who both study and teach at a single-sex institution, we don't think it's the thing for everyone, but we do think it's the thing for some young people.
Yeah, and like you said, everybody that I've talked to, they've all said the same thing. They've gone maybe different places, they've shown up on different campuses, but when they get on campus and they get an opportunity to talk to people, people look them in the eye, they say hello, they have a conversation. It feels different. And I think somebody said the other day on this show, they said it's probably not for everyone, but for who it's for, it's really for them, right? And he had said that I really knew this was a place that I wanted to be. And then he said the relationships that he built there are now lifelong relationships and friendships that he's built. That is something that's helped in his career all the way through up until now. And so what a cool university, what a cool college, right? So, but there's also a lot of stuff going on. You guys have athletics and those types of things. You got a football program. Everything up there looks good for the football program, except for that coach. I'll tell you, if he listens to this, just, so you got this guy out of Westfield. I don't know what you're doing there. No, actually, he's a really great guy.
He's fantastic.
But what all athletics do you guys have?
So we play Division III athletics, which means no scholarships.
Okay.
So our student athletes are coming for an educational experience that includes opportunities to grow and develop through athletics.
Sure.
So athletics is part of a rich set of co-curricular activities that would include the arts. We've got a play that opened this week on Wednesday night. Our Glee Club concert is on Saturday. Okay, they have students who do entrepreneurial work as part of their co-curricular activities. We have students doing research in labs with faculty members. We have 10 national fraternities. So we have many students who are, self-governing them their living situation during their college years. There's a lot going on. There's a lot at Town College.
Yeah, you said 900?
About 900 students right now.
Wow. What a cool place. And all joking aside, Jake, if you listen to this, really do like you. Good job coaching Westfield and continued success. Outside of that, you guys, one of the things that's been interesting in talking to the folks from Wabash is with your long history, you've seen so many different things and so many different evolutions in the world of technology, the internet coming around. Like you said, before going out to Maryland, you were looking at magazines, right? Or those kind of things, right? So for those kids, those magazines used to tell us stuff that we wanted to know. We'd read them weekly. It'd come in the mail. Somebody'd bring it to us. We didn't just get on our phone. And so, but tech is changing quite a bit. I'm curious inside of the college and kind of what do you see at Wabash or maybe even a little bit outside of Wabash, just in the education system? How's technology evolving and where do you think it's kind of going in the next year or so, let's say?
So you saved the hard questions for now.
That's right.
So
That's right.
making predictions about technology in the short or long term is tough. Certainly, what we've seen over the history is that technology has in general provided new generations of Wabash men with opportunities, and we see the current moment just like that. So just as our graduates who came into the age of personal computers and our graduates who came in to the age of the internet had new opportunities that they were able to take on. I'm thinking of here in Indianapolis, Kelly Fletter and Almenborough, late 90s graduates of Wabash College, right? Just as the internet is taking off, and here they built companies in Indiana. They built companies outside of Indiana. They continue to lead in the tech space. So this current evolution, I think it does feel different in that at the speed of innovation here, right? It's everything, everywhere, all the time. So that part feels a little different, is creating an urgency. But I think the opportunity space is the same. The opportunity space is that we're going to need people who are critical thinkers. We're going to need people who are adaptable. We need people who have discerning judgment and can work with others.
Yeah.
Well, these are the fundamental skills of the liberal arts education that we've been doing for 196 years.
Yeah.
So there's a part of me that feels like this is a moment for us to demonstrate our relevance like never before.
Great answer. By the way, I love the opportunity. Right? In each one of those points, personal computers, internet, now with the age of AI, each one of them gives you an opportunity. But again, if you do what Wabash has done for nearly 200 years, you're going to teach people how to learn and how to do these things. They could begin to leverage the skills and the tools that they have. Tools are different. 20 years from now, tools will be different. You guys continue down the same pace. Like you said, you'll be relevant then, just like you are today, like you were 40, 50 years ago. That's super cool. By the way, it's great to hear how you think about that and the opportunities you're creating for these young men that are on your campus. So you think about those young men that are on your campus, and of course, the city of Crawfordsville, you've got a lot of community things going on. So when you think of the community, what comes to mind to you in community?
So I think Crawfordsville and Wabash College are an interesting kind of town-gown relationship. Wabash is a very small college, so we don't dominate the town the way some small towns do. Right. Sometimes you go to a college and it's really a college town.
It's a major college.
Because the university is much larger than the town. Or you go to some places where, the city is huge and there's a tiny college embedded in it. Wabash and Crawfordsville have a real symbiotic relationship, right? Wabash won't thrive if Crawfordsville doesn't thrive. And the reverse is true as well. So we're very fortunate. We've got a 4-term mayor who's a Wabash graduate. I can't say enough how much that has helped us. But we take our responsibility as a citizen of Crawfordsville very seriously. We think that our students are a resource that the city of Crawfordsville has that, frankly, most small Midwestern towns don't. So we have such a pool of talent and energy there. So our students are doing everything from reading books to the first graders at the elementary schools to serving as consultants for local businesses and nonprofits and helping them problem solve and make their organizations better. We've taken over the last year or so, we've taken a special effort to be a good partner for the many nonprofit institutions that really make a small town run.
Yeah.
And so we're doing things like sharing some of our expertise in philanthropy, our expertise in strategic planning, our expertise in building a strong boards of directors. And we're taking that out and we're trying to help the city of Crawfordsville every way that we can.
Yeah, it's terrific to hear, right? That you guys have a hand-in-hand kind of relationship with the city because, like you said, you don't dominate the city. The city doesn't dominate you. You get a chance to be able to operate together and bring, more life into the city. Actually, the mayor will be in this chair at some point here in a couple of weeks. I think he's coming in. So it'll be fun to share his story, get his take. He loved his time at Wabash. I know when I talked to him, but he's just a great guy as well. And so terrific to be having him on here. And so great to hear your thoughts on community. And so before we, kind of finish up, let's talk a little bit about fun, right? So one of the things you said in your career, you had met this young lady in your small town. You ended up marrying her and then having a couple of kiddos, I think, and deciding to move all the way across the country. Then you end up going back close to home and you end up in Indiana. And so you're here in Indiana, couple of kids. So how many kiddos?
So we have 2 children, a daughter and who lives in Carmel, and a son who went back to Oregon, and they each have 2 children. So we have 4 grandkids altogether.
So 4 grandkids, 2 of them here in Carmel, a couple out in Oregon. You guys are in Crawfordsville. So outside of Wabash, if you're not, working and doing things at the college, what's fun? What are you guys doing for fun?
Yeah. So this maybe ties into a bit of how we ended up in Crawfordsville. So my wife grew up on a farm out in Oregon. And I mentioned my dad was the town dentist, but he was also a farmer on the side.
Okay.
So we both grew up on a farm. I grew up on I grew up as a gentleman farmer. She grew up as a real farmer.
Okay. All right.
But so one of the things that drew us to Crawfordsville was the agricultural history or activity in Montgomery County. And so we actually bought a small farm on the north side of Crawfordsville. And that's what a lot of my outside of work time is doing. We raise sheep. That's our main product. We used to grow about 100 lambs a year. We've cut back to about 50 because my president's job has a bit of a travel component.
Yeah.
But my wife and some partners opened a local food store in Crawfordsville almost 10 years ago, and where she sells her lamb and yarn and wool and various products. So that's a thing that keeps us busy and helps me disconnect from my office job.
Okay. All right. Well, Scott, I got to tell you, it's been a cool story, cool journey. It's excellent to hear the history of Wabash, how Wabash operates, and to hear from you as the president, what I've heard a couple of times for people in this chair, what they've seen coming in and that experience you had as well. It's just great to hear that and what's going on up in Crawfordsville. So I wish you guys continued success. As AI continues to evolve, it's going to be cool to see how those opportunities come out for those young men. And thanks for being on the show. I appreciate you.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Elevate podcast powered by Braden. Subscribe to stay informed on all things Braden and be the first to hear new conversations with the leaders who are driving change and elevating organizations across our community.